A passenger's GPS coordinates have never led me to a body of water, not one that existed only in the dark, miles inside a forest reserve, with no address. This is the ride that made me question every late-night ping, every shadow on the side of the road. It didn't feel like a normal fare from the start. The app just glowed with a set of raw coordinates. No street, no building, just a pin dropped in the middle of nothing. The night was already heavy, the kind of damp, cold air that seeps into the car no matter how high you crank the heat. I remember the smell of wet pavement and the hum of the engine, my only company on those empty suburban streets. This is the memory that never really ended. It just waits for me at the end of every shift. The ping came through at 2:38 a.m. Just a simple pickup request from a quiet street corner next to a closed-down laundromat. The streetlights flickered, casting long, dancing shadows. When my Toyota Camry pulled up, he was just there, standing under the weak orange light, completely soaked. Rain hadn't fallen for hours. A guy in his 30s stood barefoot on the chilly asphalt, clutching a pair of muddy dress shoes in one hand. He didn't say hello. He just opened the back door, slid onto the leather seat, and shut the door with a soft click. The smell of lake water and damp earth filled the car instantly. I looked at him in the rearview mirror. His clothes were dripping, his hair was matted to his forehead, but his eyes were fixed on the road ahead. I asked, "Where are we headed?" He just held up his phone. The screen showed the same coordinates from my app. A single blue dot in a sea of green, and that's when everything shifted. I put the car in drive, and the GPS voice calmly instructed me to head toward the interstate. The silence in the car was thick, broken only by the quiet squelch of his wet clothes against the seat. I glanced in the mirror again. He was staring straight back at me, his expression unreadable. I tried to make small talk. "Rough night?" I asked. He didn't answer. He just kept his eyes on me for a few more seconds, then turned to look out the side window, as if watching for something in the darkness between the houses. We drove for 10 minutes without a word. The suburbs melted away, replaced by the dark, lonely stretch of a state highway. The only lights were my own headlights cutting through the night. Then he finally spoke. His voice was a low whisper, barely audible over the engine. He said, "Turn here." It wasn't where the GPS was telling me to go. It was an unmarked dirt path leading into the woods. This is where I almost turned the car around, but something in his quiet intensity made me obey. I eased the Camry off the pavement and onto the bumpy, unlit road. The branches of overgrown trees scraped against the sides of the car. My headlights illuminated a tunnel of deep green and shadow. The cell signal vanished. The GPS screen went blank, except for our little blue arrow, now moving alone. After what felt like a mile, the path ended at a rusted metal gate with a sign that read, "Forest Reserve. No unauthorized vehicles. Closed at sunset." He didn't seem to notice the gate. He just whispered, "It's not locked." I got out, the air instantly cold on my skin. The gate was held shut by a simple chain, not even padlocked. Primera unhooked tight, swung it open, and jumped back in, heart pounding. We drove deeper into the woods, the silence absolute now. Then he whispered again, a command that made the hair on my arm stand up. Headlights off. I stopped the car. The darkness that flooded in was total. I couldn't see the hood of my own car. "Why?" I asked, my voice tight. He didn't look at me. He was staring out the front windshield into the black. "They can hear engines," he whispered. "They can see lights." My mind was racing. What was someone following us? I killed the engine. The sudden silence was deafening. After a moment, my eyes adjusted, and I could see the faint outline of trees against a slightly less black sky. Moonlight. It was filtering through the canopy, and up ahead, I saw it. A glint. A sliver of silver light on a perfectly still surface. It was the lake. He opened his door. "Wait here," he said, his voice still a whisper. Then he was gone, melting into the shadows. Toward the water, I realized then. He wasn't telling me everything. I waited. 1 minute, 5, 10. The only sound was my own breathing. The air in the car still smelled of him of mud and cold water. I couldn't just leave him out there. Against every instinct, I got out of the car, leaving the door ajar. The ground was soft and damp under my feet. I walked slowly toward the shore, the moonlight painting everything in shades of gray and silver. The lake was bigger than I thought, and the water was unnaturally still. Like a sheet of black glass, there were no ripples, no insects, nothing. The silence was absolute. "Hello," I called out, my voice sounding weak in the vast emptiness. No answer. I walked along the muddy bank, my shoes sinking into the soft earth. I scanned the shoreline, the tree line, the dark water. He was nowhere. I saw his footprints in the mud, leading right to the water's edge. And then they just stopped, as if he'd walked straight into the lake and vanished. I stood there for a long time, listening. The forest was holding its breath. The moonlight on the water seemed to hum with a silent energy. I felt a cold dread creep over me, the kind that has nothing to do with temperature. This wasn't a place for the living. I started backing away, back toward the faint silhouette of my car. My heart was a drum against my ribs. One had to get out of there. As I reached my car, I fumbled for the handle, my eyes still locked on the black, motionless water. That's when I heard it, a sound from the center of the lake. It wasn't a voice. It wasn't a splash. It was just a soft, single click, like a metal whisper in the air. The sound of a car door closing, under the water. I didn't take the time to really understand what was going on. You know, I threw myself into the driver's seat, slammed the door, and turned the key. The engine roaring to life felt like a sacrilege in that silence. I floored it, not caring about the branches scratching the paint or the bumps rattling the frame. I didn't slow down until my tires hit paved road and my phone chirped, the signal returning. The ride was never completed in the app. The fare just sat there, pending. The next morning, I found his muddy shoes still on the back floor. Matt, I drove them to a gas station trash can miles away and threw them in. I never told the rideshare company. I never told the police. What would I say? That I drove a man to a lake with no name, and he disappeared into the water to the sound of a closing door. Sometimes, late at night, when a ride takes me near a wooded area, I turn the radio off, and I listen. I listen for the sound of an engine where there shouldn't be one, and I pray I don't hear it. If this felt too real, say something below. The night remembers more than we think.